And well, I'll tell you, just kind of like my career, I follow successful women, and I've done okay. I'm listening to my wife. Well, she has some great questions, and so we're going to start the podcast off and this episode off with a question. So if you were to write a book and put in it everything you learned up to this point, what would the first line be?
You want to go first, Brian, or you want me to?
The first thing that popped in my head was nothing's as serious as you think it is.
Interesting. Mine was your opinion matters, but only if you have one.
Oh, nice.
That's a theme that I've been thinking about a lot lately. I've been having different team members come to me. I'm new in my company. I've returned to a company that I worked at a long time before. And so a lot of people see me as a fresh sounding board, and they ask me all these questions. I said, well, we're paying you for this opinion, so don't feel shy about speaking up about it. Talk about it. That's why we pay you. It's those opinions that matter, and your judgment that matters. It's not to say that you're always right. It's not to say you're always wrong, but your opinion matters. And so if you don't have one, or you don't feel like you can participate in a conversation, then you need to reflect and think about what your opinion should be, or what is your opinion, and come to a table with one. And that's how you can bring value. And that's something that's been rattling around in my head for the last month or two.
And I love that. So many people, I think, feel unsafe sharing their opinion. They think they'll be judged for it. They think that they won't be the right one or whatever. So you making a safe space for that is beautiful, man. Yeah, that's super cool.
Well, and it's the only way you're going to get people's thoughts, because these are people who are smart and they have really good points, and they come to me and I'm like, well, you are right to have these opinions, and you should. And like I said, you may not always be right, but be okay with being wrong with them. Just be okay to have a discussion. So that's been a big key theme that I've seen like in the last couple months.
That's cool. So for mine, and nothing as serious as you think it is. I think it's because when you were sitting there just a minute ago talking about like being like in a high stress environment, like a lot of pressure, like to do this thing, it's like the best example I've ever heard was from Alan Watts. And Alan Watts said, I was listening to one of his talks, but he said, picture yourself on like a hill, like looking down. I'm paraphrasing. This is my own, but yeah, looking down like a forest, right? It's beautiful. There's like butterflies, the sun's shining. You're in harmony, right? Maybe you're in heaven. You don't know. Maybe you're not. Like in that moment, you can't tell. You're just like perfection, okay? But if you zoom into the forest and you see the ants are like eating the heads off the beetles right now, it's not really harmonious for that beetle right there getting its head beat off. His head bitten off. But if you say with your mighty human power, you're like, I'm gonna go those MF ants. I'm gonna kill them. I'm gonna protect the beetles. And you do this with your power. Now you look back at the forest. The trees don't have leaves because the beetles didn't have anything to stop them. Now the forest is actually out of harmony and it's sick because that struggle is part of harmony. And so like, I don't know, like if you zoom out of the earth and you see this like blue and green sphere and we're all struggling, are we not generating harmony? I mean, technology is growing, like our civilization is expanding. From afar, everything looks good, but when you're in it and you're fighting, it's like a feeling of while you're being cut down by the sword, because you're on the losing side, you win because you generate harmony. I don't know, that's kind of... We went out there a little bit, but at the same time, that's why I feel like I think it's very important to realize like nothing is so important that you should have to lose your sense of peace in the world.
Love that.
I mean, that doesn't mean, of course we do at times. We can't help, we're human, but you don't have to. It's not that important.
Yeah, I think my life is a series of awakenings, of waking up and looking around and saying, "Oh wow, maybe it's something new. Maybe it's new perspective. Maybe it's maybe it's just waking up for the first time for that particular area of my life." But I hear what you're saying. I think that's really cool.
And I like the reawakening part of it. Like, it's not like you do it once and you're done.
Yeah.
It's like you get to do it again and realize these things again and again in different ways in a little more depth. And I think that's the process.
Yeah.
like an engine.
What's interesting is, I think it's interesting as a kid. I don't know if there was a lot of things that taught me how to learn in a way in which I think I've now come to understand learning is and the process of learning. First book I ever read in college was How to Read a Book by Mortimer Adler. It's actually a really good book, but it taught me how to read.
Yeah.
I think, in like suit, it would be cool to have a book called How to Learn. And I think there's lots of works actually talking about it right now, and that it requires a lot of failure. And that was something as a kid I didn't realize. I thought you had to get it right the first time. But what I find when I wake up and open my eyes is everybody is having to go through the same learning process, which includes lots of failure. And I almost want to rework the word failure. One of y'all's friends, Saul Yeaton, helped me out with that a little bit, and just reframing what that word failure means in its context, because it has a taboo, I think. Keeps folks from actually engaging.
I don't know if I brought it up last time we chatted, but Adam Grant has a big part in one of his books about failure, and his example is that people who want to be polyglots will go throw themselves into a place where they're speaking that language, and they'll force themselves to say things, and they'll make all kinds of ridiculous mistakes, and they'll get up there and say, "I'm a donut," if they're John F. Kennedy, for example, and then they can laugh about it. But he says the reason they do that is because they've recognized that they learn so much faster by learning through their mistakes than through their successes. And I've always thought that that's a really healthy perspective on things. It's like, besides a mistake is past, like you can't really do much about that to fix it usually. I mean, you may have to go back and repair something or do something different going forward, but you can't undo a mistake, but you can not make it again.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a pretty valuable concept to think about.
Yeah, no, that's cool. It's really neat. Did you have anything further to share on that?
I mean, this could be the topic of the
Right.
whole conversation right here. Is just failure. Yeah, I did they had a thing over here at CBIC. It's called Entrepreneurs Espresso, and they have it like once a month.
Yeah.
Right, and they have usually a new entrepreneur and an older entrepreneur. And they asked me to come in as an older entrepreneur, but the older entrepreneurs, the newers always do, they always have like an ask, like help me with this problem. The old ones always share a crash and learn. They don't call them crash and burn, crash and learn. And that ties in with what you're saying, like, oh my gosh, I mean, so many more failures or crash and learns than like successes by far. But man, that's how you get to the meat of something pretty fast.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I mean, along the way, your view of success changes. The definition of what success. Yeah.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
Well,
As I get younger, I feel that very much.
Yeah.
I keep refreshing what's important much more now.
Yeah.
And the crashes help define what success is. Like if I without all the trauma that I've had to go through, I would still be doing something which was not providing joy and happiness, and I'm not doing that anymore. It's like, thank God for the crash and learns, man, because otherwise I'd be on a bad path, or a less optimal path, or whatever.
Yeah, it's interesting. 15 years ago, Pam and I were in New York City. We had just got married, and I was like, hey, I want to go get some Lucky Jeans. I just thought, that was the cool brand to me. I was like, if I had some Lucky Jeans, I think I'd really look great. So I'm 246 pounds at this time, and my wife says, Josh, I don't know if you, she was trying to be cautious. We just got married. She's like, I don't know if you need a new pair of jeans. I think you need a lifestyle change. And what's interesting is through a lot of disruption and a lot of learning, like we're just talking about, she kind of got that lifestyle change, 14 years later. And, it's interesting. I used to push pain away. I used to push, anything that would make me feel, like it would mess with, my idea of what I was supposed to be. I would push it away because, that got in the way of this idea, this rigid thought. And now I welcome it. And the reason being is because through all that disruption on the other side, I'm finding, wow. And this is the first line of my book. Life is simpler than your fears. That's what I've come to understand. Life is simpler than your fears because some of my greatest fears have happened, and guess what? I'm still here. And so no longer do I want to push pain away. The reality is I want to welcome it. There's nothing that can change who I am. This is me. If I fail today, guess what? Tomorrow, I'm probably going to succeed early in the morning. Right? And even if I don't, the reality is it takes work. Rome wasn't built in one day. Tons of things that can be said about that. But life is simpler than our fears. And one of the things for me, when we think about play, I want to record what I'm learning. Much of the reason why we're doing this right now is because I want to record your thoughts. I want people to hear them, and I want the perspectives to affect them in a similar way as it affects me. But when we were having initial chats about this, play in the workplace, I was like, what? But the reality is it should be more common than it is, you know? And, I've got this idea in my head of kids on a playground, and then the workplace. And I'm like, why is that not more similar in our head than maybe the stigma is? In fact, I think workplace a lot of times gets the rep of being a dungeon, you know? And the playground is this fun place where kids go and play. But when you get old, you can't do that anymore, you know? Yeah.
There's this children's book, all right? And I think I shared this with you before, but I don't remember. But there's a children's book, and the mama's like washing the dishes, and the little girl's like, "Mama, can we play?" And she says, "After I finish the dishes, sweetheart." And then she's like doing the laundry, and the little girl's like, "Mama, can we play?" And she says, "After I finish the laundry, sweetheart." And then she's sweeping the floor. She says, "Mama, can we play?" She says, "After I finish sweeping the floor, sweetheart." And it goes on, and then the little mom's like, "Okay, I'm done. What do you want to play?" And the little girl says, "I want to play wash the dishes. I want to play do the laundry. I want to play sweep the floor." And so the mom goes along with the little girl, and they pretend to do all these chores the little girl wants to do. And I don't know, when you're talking about like play versus work, like when you're doing something that gives you energy, and it's not like riddled with like stress and pressure, it can be play and be productive. You know what I mean? Like play doesn't have to be unproductive.
That's really good.
In fact, play is very productive.
Yeah.
And if you don't take time to play, you actually have fewer ideas, you're less creative, and you don't have as much energy. So I think it's kind of essential in its own little way. And I think a lot of people have been credited with a quote, from Newton to, I think Warren Buffett has been attributed to this quote too, as if you love your job, you'll never work a day of your life. Mm-hmm. It's finding ways to enjoy what you're doing and find the fun in it, and that will give you your energy, and that will be fulfilling. And if you're not in that position, then you need to find a job that you enjoy, so that you can never work a day of your life.
Yeah.
Cool.
With people you enjoy being with too.
Well, that's a big part of
right?
what makes a job enjoyable. A lot of people don't go to work because they love doing the specific thing that their job is. They love going to work because they like the team, they like the people, they have fun, they joke around, whatever it is.
So one of the ways I do that, and just one of the reasons why that line came out is a song I wrote. I actually wanted to play for you guys.
Oh, did you really bring your guitar?
Anything that makes me feel like a kid again.
Yeah.
It's something I'm interested in. And so like when I thought about play and then decided to commit to it, I was like, oh man, I'm going to do something they're not expecting.
Yeah, you're right.
And it was funny because when I walked in the Common House, they were like, so you're going to go play Bryant a song? And I was like, yeah, isn't that how you make friends?
Yeah, that's how you make friends and influence people. Oh, dude, that's a trip.
Always important to see if it's tuned.
All right.
Feeling the water. Hell couldn't be harder, but my feet are cool enough. We just walk slowly through the rocks, and you'll get to the docks unharmed. Oh, I promise you. Well, the creek took hold of me. Well, help me see the way that life could be. Always simpler than our fears, but at the end of our years, what if we all get younger? The older we get, the younger that we'll be. Oh, the creek took a hold of me. No distractions, here's my intentions. Not just gonna click subscribe if you're not helping me thrive. If you can't bring me to a place where I'm peaceful, well, then I'll fill my mind with tasteful options. They'll all line up at the auction. The creek took a hold of me. I feel like a kid again. All I wanna do is jump on in. I feel like a kid again. All I wanna do is jump on in. Oh, the creek took a hold of me. Help me see the way that life could be is always simpler than our fears. That's the song.
Yeah. Sounds like it's more the title to your song than your book.
Oh man,
I like it.
dude, nice job.
Yeah.
You got all these skills I didn't even know.
Yeah, unexpected serenade.
Well, and here's the thing.
I loved it, man. That was super fun.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. When you can't move out of